Hey guys, it's Brittany with Scott Leroy Marketing. Today, I just wanted to go over how to manually resize third-party designs for the direct mailer campaign. So if you guys are using a third-party platform, or if you're just having a graphic designer create designs for you in order to send those out as a postcard using the direct mailer campaign, chances are they are not sized properly. The direct mailer campaign is very specific on sizing. So there's going to be specific requirements for the 4x6 postcards, the 6x9 postcards, and the 6x11. Those are your three sizes that are provided by the direct mailer campaign within Command. So as long as you are resizing according to their dimensions, you'll be able to use those images. So these are essentially going to go over how to resize those. So today I do have an example pulled up already. This is essentially a file that has both my front and my back of my postcard in one file. This is a PDF file. So if you guys are being provided PDF files, whether they are in one file, front and back, or if you guys are being provided one file for the front of the postcard, one file for the back of the postcard, or they might already be sending the file over to you as an image. I'm going to essentially go over all of these, but we're going to start with a PDF that has either multiple fronts of postcards and multiple backs of postcards, or just a front and back. I'm just going to show you guys how to split these into separate files to start. So you'll notice I do have my essentially my test file opened up. I also have Command opened up. I also have my split file platform open. And I'll give you guys the URLs for these as well. So I have my split file. This is the platform that I tend to use. If you guys do have another option that you like to use, maybe you've used something else before, completely fine. It's essentially going to get you to the same end goal, which is just going to be splitting your PDF files into separate files. So this one is ilovepdf.com/split_PDF. I love this platform because it is very straightforward and it's free, which is great. So if you guys do want to bookmark this, ilovepdf.com/split_PDF. And it's right here in the toolbar as well. And then I also have my PDF to image up, which is essentially going to be one of our last steps. If you guys are provided separate files of PDF images or PDF files, this is going to allow you to then take that file and just reformat it so it's an image. This is going to allow us to get it added in as the direct mailer campaign will require. It is essentially converted to an image if it's not being done through Command. So this is a great option as well. This URL is just pdf2image.com. So if you guys want to hyperlink, bookmark that, you guys can save that as well. Again, this may come in handy for other designs down the road, whether it's a direct mailer for a postcard or even something else. This will take any PDF and make it an image for you. So pdf2image.com. This is also free. And then I also have my command up. This just reloaded on me. Right now I'm on designs, but I will want to be jumping into campaigns. So before I even really get going with splitting anything, I am going to pull up my campaigns section from within Command. And if you guys aren't logged into Command yet, completely fine. It's just agent.kw.com. And you'll want to log in and click on the campaigns tab. From here, I'm just going to get my campaign ready. That way I can have the dimensions pulled up. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on my create campaign in the top right-hand corner. And then I'll select direct mail. From here, I'm going to give this one a test. So I'll call this one test custom 4x6. And then we'll just do this one advertised listing. You will want to select whatever goal you guys are working with. And if you guys are doing maybe a listing postcard, you may want to also throw the address in here just so there's no confusion. And then we have two options at the bottom. The first one being a default template. If you guys are avoiding doing the design as a whole, meaning you don't want to create a custom design, whether it's through command or outside of command, the default template does allow the system to actually create kind of like a general postcard for you, which is great. But if you guys are using a custom design, which is what this tip is going to be going over, we are going to be selecting upload a custom template. And once you guys have that information added, we're just going to go ahead and click on create campaign. Once you guys click on that, the first thing that we're just going to be paying attention to before we start breaking our PDF down into those files, the dimensions. So as you guys can see right here, it does give you guys a heads up in regards to the dimensions that are going to be required. So for a 4x6, we have 1275 by 1875. For 6x9, we have 1875 by 2775. And then for our 6x11, we have 1875 by 3375. So these are the dimensions that the image will need to be manually sized to exactly. If you are as much as a pixel off, it will reject your image. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you guys want to jot those down, you can. However, keep in mind, if you ever question the sizing, this is exactly where it will be. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my design just so you guys can see it once more. So again, I'm going to be starting just by splitting the front and the back into two separate PDFs, just so you guys can see that. If you are provided a file that has the front and the back as one file as a PDF, you can jump straight to PDF to image. I'm just going to show you guys how to split them just in case you guys ever need to use this tool. So I have my split PDF file. All I'm going to do once I'm on this URL, again, it's ilovepdf.com/split_PDF. I'm just going to go ahead and click on select PDF file. And then I'll go to my downloads and I'll select my file that I'm working with. From here, if you guys haven't used this before, on the right-hand side, this is where you're going to be able to select your range. As of right now, I have one range, meaning that it's still one file. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Range. And then I'm going to adjust my first range. So it's essentially page 1 to page 1. And then my second range is page 2 to page 2. So now it's splitting it into two separate files. So if you guys are working with a file that has multiple pages that you're looking to break down into their own individual files, you may have range 1 with 1 to 1, range 2 to 2 to 2, range 3 from 3 to 3, which is completely fine if you guys are breaking this down further. But for this one, I only have my two ranges, and I'm just going to go ahead and select split PDF in the bottom right once I have them split on two separate pages. Once you guys do click on that, it does start downloading. You don't have to click anything else. I am using Firefox, so I get a pop-up, and I'm just going to make sure that I select Save File and then OK. If you guys are using Chrome, chances are it's showing up at the bottom of your screen. You'll be able to open this. It will also show up in your Downloads folder on your computer. So I'll click on OK. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and open my downloads, which opens on another screen for me. So when I click on my downloads, it now has my zip file that the system just gave me. And now I have my two PDFs split. Generally, the larger file is going to be the front because that's usually an image. Generally, the smaller file is going to be the back because there isn't a lot of information that's going to be on the back of that postcard. So that's just an easy way to tell them apart. If you want to rename them or anything like that, you can also just open them. If you double click, it's pulling it up on a separate screen for me. Sorry, guys. So if I double click that, it's just now showing me that it is essentially its own file. There's no longer the back of the file populating. And then same thing if I open up the back, this is just the back of my file. So from here, now that you guys have them split, we're going to go ahead and convert these to images. So I'm just going to I'm going to select both of them and just drag and drop them onto my desktop just so I can find them easier down the line. Also, if you guys ever have a zip file that you guys download, you'll notice that you can't do a lot of editing or locate it when it's in that zip file. So by just moving them to my desktop, I'll have full access to make edits to them as well. So I'm going to minimize that. And then I'm going to X out of the split tool. And now I have my PDF to image. So if you guys are working with the file that has both the front and the back in the file, you can do that here. You can upload them. Or if you were given separate PDF files, you can essentially do them all separately. I'm going to show you guys both options just so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and do upload files, and I'll do just one of them. And then I'll also do upload, and I'll locate my merged file. And that one will take a little bit longer. So once you guys have selected your PDF files, again, whether it's the front and the back put together, or it's just your separate files, whichever's easier for you guys, you're just going to want to make sure that you're clicking on the download option. And again, if you're using Firefox, you'll want to save it. If you're using Chrome, it will auto do that for you. And then we'll do both of them just so I can show you guys the difference. So I'll save that one too. Once I've downloaded them, you can pull up my folder again, and I'll just go to my downloads. Both of my new folders, they're these two. The split one was from earlier. I'll actually delete that one just to avoid confusion. So now I have this one. This is just the front. So if I open that up, this is just the front of an image. Pulls up on another screen. So this is just the front of my postcard. It's one image. You'll notice it there. I'll X out of that one. And then I'll just pull up my other one just so you guys can see it. Back in the downloads. And you'll notice here it did split it into two separate images. So if I open these up, I have the front of my postcard. And then I have the back of my postcard. So the system is smart enough to split this one PDF file into those two separate images, just in case you don't want to go through that splitting process. That's completely fine. So now for these two images, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm essentially just going to drag and drop them over to my desktop just so I can now open them up and manually resize them. I'll pull up my desktop. And like I said before, the smaller one is generally going to be the back. I'm just going to rename these just so I can tell them apart. So we'll do that one back, nice and simple. And then we'll do this one. I'll label this one front, just so I can tell them apart when I am resizing them and then adding them to the campaign. So now I have my front and the back of the postcard. Now we need to manually size these images based on the actual dimensions that Command has pulled up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to do this on both Paint 3D, and I'm also going to show you guys how to do it on regular Paint. So depending on what system you guys have on your computer, you'll have access to one of these and you can essentially resize that. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click my image. And you guys should get a huge menu. If you're not getting it, just try right clicking it again. But I'm just right clicking my image. And I'm just going to hover over Open With. I already have Paint and Paint 3D popping up here. If you guys aren't seeing these options, that's completely fine. You can locate whichever option you guys normally use on your start menu. You'll just want to look for either Paint or Paint 3D. I'm going to show you guys how to use both of them. But for the front, I'm actually going to start with Paint, and then the back will use Paint 3D, so you guys can see both systems. So I'm going to do Open With, Paint, and you'll see this image is huge. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so you guys can see the entire thing. Oh, there we go. So from here, once you guys do have the image pulled up, again, if you are going through just normal Paint, if the Open With didn't work, make sure that you guys locate Paint on your computer. And then you guys can go ahead and just do the file open, and then you'll locate the file on your desktop. Once you guys have it popped up like this, we're going to go ahead and click on the Resize button. You guys should get this pop up right here. we are going to go ahead and select pixels because those are essentially the dimensions that Keller Williams International provides to us. And then we're going to uncheck maintain aspect ratio, just in case it's a hair off. This will allow us to plug in the exact dimensions that are required, and you'll be able to see if there's any distortion or anything like that. For example, if you guys are working with a square image right now, there is a chance that it may be distorted. You'll notice that all of the postcards are more of a rectangular shape, 4x6, 6x9, 6x11. Those are all going to give you generally a rectangle. So as of right now, all I have selected is pixels. I've unchecked maintain aspect ratio. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my command page so we can go over those dimensions. And if you aren't logged in, you guys can jot these down if you need them. So for 4x6, again, we're going to need 1275 by 1875. And then we have our 6x9. If you guys are doing a 6x9 postcard, you guys are going to want to do 1875 by 2775. And then 6x11. If you guys are doing this 6 inches by 11, you guys are going to want to do 1875 by 3375. So if you guys need to jot those down really quick, that way you guys can manually resize these. And I'm going to pull back up Paint. And I'm just going to plug in. I'm going to do the 4x6. So I'm going to be doing the 1875 by 1275. And I'll do, okay. And you'll notice here, it does squish a little bit. So you'll notice that before I essentially had more of a rectangle. Now it kind of squishes it in. As far as the distortion goes, it's still usable. So if you guys are in a situation like this where it kind of moves it a little bit, but everything is still legible, everything's still clear, then you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm just going to save over my original image just to avoid confusion. And then I can go ahead and X out of that. And then I'm going to pull up the back of my postcard, and we'll do that one in Paint 3D. So I'm just right clicking, open with Paint 3D. Or if you guys can't do this route, just make sure that you're opening Paint 3D on your computer. Whichever platform you guys have, you guys obviously can do both in Paint or both in Paint 3D. I just want to show you both platforms just in case you only have one of these. Just opened Paint 3D. And if you guys are using Paint 3D for this, all you're going to want to do once you have that image opened is you're going to click on Canvas right on the top. And then you'll notice that you guys have that resize section very similar to regular Paint. We're going to unlock aspect ratio, and we're going to make sure that pixels is selected. This is generally the default, but if you guys are getting % as your default, just make sure pixels is selected. And then we're going to go ahead and tweak the width on this one. So the width should be 1875. And then the height should be 1275. And then once you have that updated, I'm just going to do the exact same thing as before, and I'm just going to save it. So I'll go to menu, and then I'm just going to save over my original file again, just to avoid confusion. So I'll save that. That's been updated. My width and height are still populating. I'm good to go. Now I can X out of Paint 3D, and I'm going to X out of here, and I'm just on command. So once I am on command, I've already resized my images, no matter which platform you guys were using. Once you guys have both of those manually resized, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm on the front of my postcard first. I'll browse for files, and I'm just going to pull up the front image. That now uploads for me. Now I have the back of my postcard, and then there's the back. And then I can go ahead and click on continue. And then from here, you guys will want to add in all of your market center information and your targeting, or you can also save as draft and come back and add that information in later. You'll also notice here that it does let you know which postcard you guys are using. So that's been sized for 4x6. when you guys are also uploading. So if I re-upload, let's see front, you guys can swap them out. But as far as the actual sizing goes, just make sure that you are sizing the front and the back for the same postcard. Otherwise, when you guys are adding those in, it will give you an error message. Also, again, if you guys are even 1 pixel off, it does tend to give you a hard time. So just make sure that you are resizing exactly to the dimensions. And then again, if you guys need those dimensions, if you just create a new campaign and essentially give it a test name, select your goal, and then select the custom option, those dimensions will be right there for you. You can jot them down on a Post-it. You guys can take a picture of it, whatever's easiest, because those are also great dimensions to provide to either the graphic designer that you guys may be using or the third-party source that you're using. Even if you guys are creating postcards just outside of Command and you're manually doing them, those dimensions will come in handy because you can essentially pre-size them for Command. So that's going to make life a little bit easier for you. If you guys have any questions at all, just let us know. I'm going to go ahead and just save this as a draft. If you guys run into any road bumps, just shoot us an email, support@scottleroymarketing.com, and we can take a look for you. And that's how you guys can resize your custom or third-party designs for direct mailers.